Pause for a moment. Not because this is urgent, but because moments like this decide where people end up. Some continue drifting. Others recognize the pattern and break it. Recently, I watched someone drain his own authority in real time. He kept talking, kept clarifying, kept justifying himself to a person who had already decided not to respect him. The longer he spoke, the smaller he became. Scenes like this aren't rare. They're quiet. They happen in conversations, meetings, relationships, every day. And if you feel a sting hearing this, it's because you felt that imbalance before. The sense that you're present, but not regarded, that you contribute, but aren't taken seriously. This isn't a personality flaw, it's not a lack of talent, and it's not something you were born with. It's learned behavior. Most people are trained to reduce themselves, to smooth their edges, to stay agreeable, understandable, and easy to handle. That training works, just not in your favor. Centuries ago, one thinker refused that conditioning. Instead of asking how people should behave, he studied how they actually do, how influence forms, how authority is perceived, how respect is either granted or withdrawn. His conclusions were uncomfortable, but they were accurate. This isn't about manipulation, it's about awareness. Becoming someone whose presence settles a room, someone who doesn't raise their voice and never needs to repeat themselves. Someone whose limits are understood without explanation. Not aggressive, not performative, simply grounded. In the next moments, you'll hear principles that don't appeal to emotion. They appeal to reality. They separate those who wait to be acknowledged from those who are recognized the moment they arrive. But understand this first. Once you recognize these dynamics, pretending you don't see them becomes impossible. Comfort disappears. Naivety doesn't return. So before moving forward, anchor this thought somewhere visible. Comments, notes, anywhere. I no longer participate in my own limitation. Now let's begin at the root. There are two operating systems inside you. One negotiates. It explains. It tries to be understood. The other is composed, decisive, unmoved by approval. Every response you give hands control to one of them. The passive version didn't appear randomly. It was reinforced. Compliance was praised. Assertiveness was softened. Silence was filled. Boundaries were labeled difficult. But men shaped for convenience rarely shape outcomes. That internal hesitation is why disrespect lingers, why tolerance stretches too far, why clarity arrives too late. And here's the quiet exchange happening each time. When you prioritize someone else's comfort over your standards, you teach them how to treat you. Power doesn't announce itself. It behaves consistently. The uncertain voice says, I should explain. The aligned voice says, no explanation is required. The uncertain voice asks, what if they misunderstand? The aligned voice answers, they understood enough. This shift isn't emotional, it's deliberate. When limits are tested, don't defend them, maintain them. When behavior degrades, don't investigate motives, adjust access. When time is disrespected, don't rationalize it, withdraw it. Start noticing which internal voice speaks first, especially under pressure. Choose composure over approval. Choose clarity over accommodation. Choose presence over permission. Resistance will surface. Let it. Because beyond it is a version of you that doesn't shrink, negotiate, or overextend. A version that doesn't request respect and therefore receives it. Mark the transition. Leave this statement below. My alignment is changing. My presence is stabilizing. This internal shift feels uncomfortable at first because the world quietly rewards compliance. It praises those who don't challenge the atmosphere, those who smooth tension instead of exposing it. But notice something important. The men who are always understood are rarely respected. The men who are endlessly accommodating are rarely followed. Clarity attracts authority. Accommodation dissolves it. You were taught that being agreeable keeps peace. In reality, it keeps you predictable. Predictability makes you readable. Readable people are easy to test. Easy to test means easy to cross. That's why the same people keep pushing. Not because they're cruel, but because they're curious. They want to know where resistance begins. Most never find it. Internal alignment is not about becoming harsh. It's about becoming solid. When you're solid, people feel it before you speak. Your posture answers questions your mouth never does. Your stillness closes doors you no longer have to guard. This is why explanation weakens presence. The moment you justify yourself, you place your authority on trial, and trials invite verdicts. Watch how often you speak to fill silence. Watch how often you soften statements that were already clear. Watch how often you over-prepare words for people who never prepared respect. That habit has a cost. Every unnecessary explanation teaches others that your position is flexible. Every delayed boundary signals availability for negotiation. Every emotional justification reveals leverage. Aligned men don't remove emotion, they relocate it. They feel internally, decide privately, act cleanly. No dramatics, no speeches, no visible friction. This is what makes them unsettling. You can't predict them by their tone. You can't control them by pressure. You can't rush them into reactions. Ask yourself this quietly. How many times have you explained something that required only one sentence? How many times have you waited for permission that was never needed? How many times have you sensed disrespect and continued anyway? Those moments weren't small. They were training sessions. Training for who you become under stress. Alignment means interrupting that pattern mid-action. Choosing restraint instead of reflex. Choosing firmness instead of comfort. It won't feel natural at first. That's how you know it's working. Discomfort is the nervous system recalibrating. The old program resists being overwritten. Let it resist, because on the other side of that resistance is a man who no longer leaks authority through overexposure. A man whose decisions don't require consensus. A man whose boundaries exist without signage. This isn't dominance, it's gravity. People don't argue with gravity, they adjust. And once your internal alignment stabilizes, the external world follows without negotiation. At this point, something uncomfortable should be happening inside you. A quiet realization, not excitement, not motivation, but clarity. Because once you understand how power actually works, you stop romanticizing fairness. You stop expecting reciprocity, and you stop being surprised when people reveal who they really are. Now we move from internal control to external dominance. Most men fail here, not because they lack strength, but because they reveal it too early, in the wrong way to the wrong people. Power is not loud, it is positioned. And the first mistake weak men make is believing that showing strength earns respect. It doesn't. It invites resistance. This is where strategic restraint separates men who command influence from men who provoke opposition. You don't announce your evolution. You let people discover it too late. Think about it. The moment you start explaining that you've changed, the moment you declare that you won't tolerate disrespect anymore, the moment you post quotes about boundaries and strength, you've already lost leverage. Because real power doesn't justify itself. It doesn't explain. It doesn't seek agreement. It simply changes behavior and forces others to adjust. This is the principle of controlled distance. When you begin to pull back emotionally, verbally, energetically, people panic. Not because they miss you, but because they lose access. And access is power. You don't argue, you don't confront, you don't demand apologies. You become less available, less reactive, less explainable, and suddenly the same people who ignored you start watching you carefully. Because unpredictability triggers respect. Here's the psychological truth most men never hear. People don't value what is kind. They value what is scarce. Your attention, your tolerance, your emotional labor. When those were unlimited, you were invisible. When they become selective, you become important. Ask yourself this honestly. Who respects you more? The people you're always there for, or the people who have to earn your time? The answer is uncomfortable, but it's consistent. Respect follows scarcity, not sacrifice. This is why distance is not punishment, it's calibration. You are teaching people how to treat you by what you allow to continue. Now comes the part that separates strategic men from emotional ones. You must learn to let people misunderstand you. Weak men explain, strong men allow confusion. When you stop correcting assumptions, when you stop clarifying intentions, when you stop defending your choices, you gain something rare: psychological altitude. People project onto silence. They fill gaps with fear, curiosity, and imagination. And imagination is more powerful than explanation. Silence makes people assume you're calculating. Distance makes them assume you're selective. Calm makes them assume you're in control, even if you say nothing. This is why powerful men are often misjudged at first. They don't rush to be liked. They don't rush to be understood. They don't rush to be validated. They let reality speak for them. And reality speaks through consistency, not speeches. Here's another truth you must absorb. You don't need to be aggressive to be dangerous. You need to be immovable. Aggression reveals insecurity. Immovability signals certainty. When someone crosses a line, you don't raise your voice. You remove access. When someone disrespects you, you don't argue. You downgrade their position in your life. When someone tests you, you don't react emotionally. You observe. And that observation tells you everything. Powerful men gather information silently. They watch patterns. They notice timing. They remember behavior. They don't forgive quickly. They don't forget easily. Not out of bitterness, but out of strategy. Every interaction becomes data. Who respects boundaries? Who pushes limits? Who only behaves when consequences appear? Now let's talk about emotional control. Not suppression, control. If your emotions are visible, they are usable against you. Anger makes you predictable. Neediness makes you manipulable. Over-explanation makes you weak. This doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become selective with expression. You feel everything. You show very little. Because the man who can regulate himself cannot be regulated by others. When someone insults you and you remain calm, they lose power. When someone provokes you and you don't respond, they feel exposed. When someone expects a reaction and gets none, they spiral. Silence turns pressure back onto the source, and this is where dominance quietly forms. Now understand this clearly. You will lose people, not because you became worse, but because you became harder to use. Some will call you distant, some will call you arrogant, some will say you changed. Let them. Those labels are symptoms of lost control. People only complain when their influence over you disappears. And here's the final shift. You stop trying to win people over. You start letting people qualify. Access to you becomes earned, not automatic. Your standards stop being negotiable. Your time stops being available on demand. Your presence stops being guaranteed. And something interesting happens. The room changes when you enter. Not because you demand attention, but because your energy doesn't ask for permission. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're simply unavailable for nonsense. That is power. This is the man who doesn't chase respect. He attracts it by default, because he is grounded internally and unreachable externally. Now ask yourself this. Who have you been over-explaining yourself to? Who have you been tolerating out of habit? Who has access to you without earning it? Those are the leaks, and today you close them. Not with confrontation, with withdrawal, not with anger, with silence, not with speeches, with behavior. This is how men become untouchable, not invincible, untouchable, because nothing external can reach what is internally secured. If this part hit harder than expected, acknowledge it. Drop this in the comments. I choose control over approval. If you're still here, you already feel the shift. And in the next videos, we go even deeper.